You are watching The Horizon, the voice of the Amber Woman, exclusively on ABC Amber TV.
Mutumbu, mama yo, na ya boy go get down. Blue Jay promise. Mama yo kind, mama you're beautiful, mama you good, mama you're wonderful. No woman like you, mama. No woman like you, mama. Thank God for you, mama. Thank God for you, mama. 'Cause you gave me life, oh mama. Queen of my life, oh mama. I go love you for life, oh mama. 'Cause you love me so, oh mama. From small beginning, I never forget all the suffer when you suffer for me. Oh yeah, yeah. All the pain and the troubles where I pull you through. I remember when money no be there and chop no be there for her. You be the try your best. You go run around to find us something where we go chop. When I dey sick, you know the sleep. You go dey cry all night. You go hold me tight, start to pray, say God make you help my oh Lord. Ooh, I wo ye choma. Afunga na bere ye funga choma. Ambama na bere ye ambama choma. Ega na chinu ye ga choma. Mama, I wo ye choma. Afunga na bere ye funga choma. Ambama na bere ye ambama choma. Ega na chinu ye ga choma. Ye ga choma, mama. Ega na chinu ye ga choma. Chinu ye ga choma. Oh, you gave me life, oh mama. Queen of my life, oh mama. I go love you for life, oh mama. 'Cause you love me so, oh mama.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, fellow Ambazonians, fellow Southern Cameroonians. Welcome to The Horizon, the voice of the Amber Woman. This is a new month, and we're excited to be here today as we stay the course, as we head to Boya together. We want to thank you for joining us on this special show today. As usual, I start by appreciating our ARFs who are supporting us on home front. I also appreciate our mothers, sisters, brothers, friends who are taking care of our ARFs because they are really there in the lion's den defending homeland. I want to give a shout out to our refugees. I hate to use the word our refugees, but that's who they are, because they are in foreign lands, because there is a war in Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. We pray for them. We ask them to be resolute, to stay the course, because we intend to get home as a family. And I want to appreciate those watching from the diaspora to continue to fund our quest, because the truth and justice are both on our side. Today on The Horizon, we have our guest. He's not really a stranger on The Horizon. He's been here before, and he'll be here again. I'd like for you to welcome Dr. Fred Lobadi to The Horizon. Welcome, Doc, and thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. We're very happy to be here. And I hope we'll have a very educative and interesting program for our people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You come with a wealth of information, and I'm very sure that is exactly what will happen. Today we have two interesting topics. We will really delve into it because I understand time is of essence, so that we finish quickly, and you have to go to work. So I'm really appreciative that you have made the time to join us. The first topic we want to talk about is well, the screen says La Republique Terrorism in Ambazonia. La Republique recently, at the end of last month, came up with a tactic to fight southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. And to make this a little bit easier, I'm going to read exactly that communique that came from the government at the end of last month with regards to some words that we will discuss during the course of our conversation today. So, on the 30th of October, President Paul Biya establishes committee to combat money laundering and terrorist financing. By the way, when we hear things like President Paul Biya establishes, we even wonder if it's President Paul Biya doing something like that. But I'm sure you will talk about it. So let me just read it quickly, then I'll ask you some questions. On October 30th, President Paul Biya signed a decree establishing and laying the operational structure of the Coordination Committee on National Policies Against Money Laundering, Terrorist Financing, and Proliferation of Weapons of Mass Destruction. According to the presidential decree, the committee will assist the government, economic, social, financial, non-financial, and monetary actors, as well as the population, in combating money laundering, terrorist financing, and the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, and sensitizing them on the need for such action. It will particularly support the National Financial Investigation Agency in coordinating and monitoring self-assessment and evaluation exercises. This agency is already involved in missions to combat money laundering and terrorism financing. Among other tasks, the new committee will ensure better coordination between the government services involved in the missions entrusted to it, as well as, in quote, fostering the strengthening of requisite facilities for combating money laundering, terrorist financing, and the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, in quotes. Under the oversight of the Minister of Finance, this committee consists of representatives from various public administrations engaged in combating money laundering, as well as individuals from security, defense, intelligence services, and financial institutions. With its establishment, Cameroon is reinforcing its institutional measures against money laundering and the financing of terrorism. Since 2017, the country has been grappling with terrorist operations by separatist militias in the northwest and southwest regions. These armed groups received substantial financial backing from individuals located outside the country. In response, Yaoundé is fighting to stop the violence in these regions. I end here. So, Doc, let me start with a few questions. Well, President Biya is trying to govern. That's part of governing. So let me just start by asking you, what is really what is government, and what does good governing entail?
Okay, so this is a very interesting topic, and we are also living in a very turbulent time in our history, the history of mankind, where truth is presented as falsehood and falsehood is represented or being put out to the people as truth. And in principle, they have this situation where a rabid dog, a wild dog, looks into a mirror and starts barking at what it sees in the mirror. So the population is like the mirror. And in this case, La République du Cameroon, as a government, when it looks at the people, it sees its shortcomings, and then it is barking. It is making noise. It is basically describing itself. And I will go deeper into that First of all, the issue of a leader. um, every society needs a leader. Every family needs a leader. If you have a group of people without a leader, they will not know how to handle themselves and go in an organized way. But we need good leaders. We don't need bad leaders. And
Mm-hmm.
we use the Bible as our guidance how to live our life successfully. And the Bible says, talking to the children of Israel, that how they would choose a king. It says that, so a king here could be the president or any leader, even a family head. It says, when you are come into the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, and shall possess it, and shall dwell therein, and shall say, I will set a king over me like all the nations that are about me. Thou shalt in any wise set him over king over thee, whom the Lord thy God has chosen. It's important for people to trust God and pray to guide them in choosing their leaders, because otherwise wicked people will come into office. From one among thee, thy brethren, shalt thou set over thee a king, which is not, don't put over you a stranger who is not one of your brethren. One funny thing to mention here is that the French like to use foreigners to
Mm-hmm.
control colonies. So, for example, Ahijo's father came from Mali and Bia's family came from Equatorial Guinea. Here it says that it has to be a brother from among you. But he shall not multiply horses. So the Bible is giving the qualities of this ruler. The ruler shall not multiply horses. You can translate that into like cars and aeroplanes and all these possessions that people own. You know that they give the strength of a car in terms of horsepower. So if a car has the power of a 300 horsepower, it means that 20 strong horses running and pulling a cart will constitute the power of that car. So he
Mm-hmm.
says, but he shall not multiply horses to himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt to the end that he should multiply horses. For as much as the Lord hath said unto you, ye shall henceforth return no more the way you came from. Neither shall he multiply wives. That's one of the temptations. With power you have money, um, women, and all kinds of vices. So when you are wealthy, it's easy to be carried away and you start multiplying wives. He says, neither shall he multiply wives to himself that his heart turn not away, neither shall he greatly multiply to himself silver and gold. You see, he shall not multiply wealth unto himself. We'll see this as time goes on, that most leaders tend to accumulate wealth, and they also try to uh, do a lot of bad things. And it shall be when he sitteth upon the throne of his kingdom, that he shall write him a copy of this law in a book out of that which is before the priests of the Levites, and it shall be with him, and he shall read therein all the days of his life, that he may learn to fear the Lord his God, to keep all the words of this book. It is important to have a God fearing person. If you don't have
Mm-hmm.
a God fearing person as a leader, you will go through a lot of hardship. So that his heart be not lifted up above his brethren. He should not be a proud person who thinks that he is more important than the others that he is ruling. And that he turn not aside from the commandment to the right or to the left, to the end that he may prolong his days in his kingdom and his children. So you see, the characteristics of a good leader would be one that God has led the people to choose, somebody
Mm-hmm.
who fears God, who does not accumulate wealth to himself, and does not think more highly of himself than others. All these things that I'm reading, you can try to find out whether the government of the person we're calling Bia really fulfills these criteria. Now, in terms of government, a leader leads a government. The Bible says, or is written, that governments provide the parameters for everyday behavior for citizens, protecting them from outside interference and providing for their well being and happiness. This is very important for us to think. Has the Biya government, what is constituted as Biya government, been providing for the well being and happiness of every Cameroonian? And if the government cannot provide that, then it is really not a true government to talk about. And so um, we go further. We were talking about the issue of terrorism. During the time of the French Revolution, that's when the concept of terrorism was actually defined in detail. It says that definitions of terrorism are usually complex and controversial, and because of the inherent ferocity and violence of terrorism, the term in its popular usage has developed an intense stigma. It was first coined in the 1790s to refer to the terror used during the French Revolution by the revolutionaries against their opponents. Remember, when people don't like somebody, they call them terrorists. So your
Mm-hmm.
enemies, they tend to call them terrorists. So if we don't like La Republique, we call all the people that they are using terrorists. And if La Republique doesn't like us, they also call us terrorists. We will find out who the true terrorist is. And he says, um, the Jacobin party of Maximilien Robespierre carried out a reign of terror involving mass execution by guillotine for those who read
Mm-hmm.
French Revolution. Although terrorism in this usage implies an act of violence by a state against its domestic enemies. So they're saying here that a state government was executing terror against their what they perceive to be their enemies within the country, the constituents. Since the 20th century, the term has been applied most frequently to violence aimed either directly or indirectly at governments in an effort to influence policy or topple an existing regime. So if you go back to the situation of Cameroon, the people that they call terrorists, say like the people of the former British Southern Cameroons, have these people attempted in any way to influence political activity in La République du Cameroun to topple Biya's regime? No. You have not seen these people plan to go and remove the government in Yaoundé in any way. Terrorism is not legally defined in all jurisdictions. The statutes that do exist, however, generally share some common elements. Terrorism involves the use and threat of violence and seeks to create fear, not just within the direct victims, but among a wide audience. The degree to which it relies on fear distinguishes terrorism from both conventional and guerrilla warfare. Although conventional military forces invariably engage in psychological warfare against the enemy, their principal means of victory is the strength of arms. Similarly, guerrilla forces, which often rely on acts of terror and other forms of propaganda, aim at military victory and occasionally succeed, like in Vietnam. Terrorism proper is thus the calculated use of violence to generate fear and directly to achieve political goals when direct military victory is not possible.
Mm-hmm.
To generate violence when military victory is not possible. This has led some social scientists to refer to guerrilla warfare as a weapon of the weak and terrorism as a weapon of the weakest. If you go to the situation of the people of the former British Southern Cameroon, Ambazonia, we realize that La Republic has used the police force, the
Mm-hmm.
military, to terrorize the population, go into their villages and destroy villages, burn people, kill people, and then claim that they are protecting lives and property. While on the contrary, they are rather intimidating the population to remain under them so that they can exploit their resources. So the person organizing terrorism or practicing terrorism here is La République du Cameroon. In order to attract and maintain the publicity necessary to generate widespread fear, terrorists must engage in increasingly dramatic, violent, and high attacks. These have included hijackings, hostage takings, kidnappings, mass shootings, car bombings, and frequently suicide bombings. Although apparently random, the victims and locations of terrorist attacks often are carefully selected for their shock value. Schools, shopping centers, bus, train violence, and restaurants and nightclubs have been targeted both because they attract large crowds and because they are places with which members of the civilian population are familiar and in which they feel at ease. The goal of terrorism generally is to destroy the public sense of security in the places most familiar to them. Major targets sometimes also include buildings or other locations that are important economic or psychological or political symbols, such as embassies or military installations. The hope of the terrorists is that the sense of terror engender the population to pressure political leaders toward a specific political aim. Some definitions treat all acts of terrorism, regardless of their political motivations, as simple criminal activity. For example, the U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation defines both international and domestic terrorism as involving violent criminal acts. It goes on, but basically, what I want to bring out here is that the people of the former British Southern Cameroon have never of their own volition and planned to carry out acts to intimidate La République du Cameroon, either its citizens or their government, to instill fear on them to achieve a political goal. On the other hand, La République du
Mhm.
Cameroon has planned actions and taken them against the people of former British Southern Cameroon to intimidate them, kill so many people in Bali and burn them with chemicals, destroy
Right.
so many villages to subdue them, to remain under them so that they can continue to exploit the resources of the land. So, in principle, La République du Cameroon is the terrorist. And as I read before about a political leader, we read that Biya himself is not having the characteristics of a good king. He
Mhm.
feels most important. He doesn't go to ordinary events and mingle himself with the population. He thinks that he's a high somebody almost like God, and he sends others to represent him everywhere. He never speaks to Cameroonians. He goes rather and talks to foreign press and all that kind of thing. Plus, he is 90 years old. You don't need to be a doctor. I'm a physician, so I know what I'm talking about. I see them every day. Just turn around you and find a 90-year-old person and find out how they function. You realize that they may be hard of hearing. Their minds may no
Mhm.
longer be working. So the person being called Bia is not the person doing all those things that are done in the name of Bia. It is the
Mhm.
people around him who are using him to do those things because they know that the moment Biya is declared no longer in existence or no longer active, is no longer president, they will lose their power. It is just like a tree. The leaves on the tree feed on the trunk of the tree. And if the trunk falls down, the leaves will fall with the tree and die as well. So they know that the moment Biya is declared dead, they are gone. So they try to give the impression that he's alive, he's very intelligent, he's smart, he's doing all of these things. No, Bia is not doing those things. Those people have crafted those ideas and present them to people in the name of Bia. If Bia is truly alive, let him come out. Let him
Mhm.
go to Bamenda. Let him go to Pansao. Let him go to the places where he believes he controls. Let him go to all those areas. Go through using the regular roads that people use to show that
Mhm.
he is alive and is strong and able to rule Cameroon. If he is not, he's for all practical purposes dead. The
Mhm.
other thing is many leaders around the world like to use body doubles. So they find people who look physically almost like the person that they're presenting. So they may find somebody who looks like Bia and once in a while put him up somewhere dressed up to look like Bia when the man may have been dead. The French are known for doing this. When the former president of Ivory Coast, Houphouët-Boigny, died, the French held the
Mhm.
information for 7 months until they could make sure that the leadership that will emerge will be used by them to accomplish their goals, which was always to exploit the resources of the land. Same thing in Togo. When Eyadema died, the French held the information for 5 months. Same thing in Gabon. When the president of Gabon died, they held information for at least 3 months. So Biya may be dead and they're hiding him in the fridge. They're afraid of bringing out the truth that he's alive. If he wants to prove that he's alive, let him come out. Go among all the people, walk with them everywhere. In places, go to the North Marua, go to Bamenda, go to Wum, all those places. If he cannot, listen to me. For all practical purposes, he is dead and gone. The people around him are just using his name so that they will not be disqualified and considered dead. Now, coming back to the concept of money laundering, like La Republic is trying to use, remember again, these are people around Bia that are trying to use his name to give the impression that they're in control to stay in power. The concept of money laundering involves disguising origins of illegally obtained proceeds so that they appear to be legitimate. And money laundering involves such aspects of smuggling, insider trading, bribery, embezzlement. Now, is there a government in Cameroon that we don't know that is taking bribes? Most often in Cameroon, when you go to an office to have a service by a member of government who is being paid a salary, they don't want to serve you until you give them a bribe. All the governors take bribes, the DOs take bribes, the police on the streets take bribes. All these people, they take bribes right through to the presidency. I remember one time I was going to Yaoundé when those army people stopped our bus and we're asking for a bribe. We're asking, why do they do this? They say even the president takes bribes. So why should they not also do? So he's the example for them. So BIA takes bribes. So when they have gathered and accumulated this wealth, in order to hide it, then they launder the money
Mhm.
and they create multiple different bank accounts where they can hide this money abroad. That's why when Bongo was put out, they said Omar Bongo had over 90 bank accounts so that he
Wow.
can hide all the money that he has. He had over 59 different properties, luxury homes in France alone, not to mention Switzerland, all across Europe and here in the United States. So you can imagine if Biya claims that he's the highest paid president in Africa and the president of Gabon owned all those things, then you can only imagine for a moment what Biya himself has. These are the people who do the laundering, the money laundering. They steal and hide those things. So in principle, they are looking and seeing themselves and describing who they are by pretending that they are going after money launderers and terrorists. They are the terrorists, and those are the people laundering money. That's how I would put that.
Wow. Doc, you've said so much during the past few minutes, and I'm going to just even go back and pick on some of the things that you've said. This talk about terrorism, and in fact, the fact that they decided in October of this year to come up with a committee to be able to combat terrorism, but more focus on what is happening in Northwest and Southwest, because that's their ultimate goal in
Uh-huh.
terms of what you read in that, what I just read, that statement. That is their
Mhm.
ultimate goal. But you've said a few things here that just poked my mind in terms of saying something to provoke you to say some more things. You said that if Bia is alive, let him come out and prove it to the people, to show himself, to go to all these areas. It is true when you live in the foreign world, when there's an act of terror in a particular part, you see the president, for example, when there's mass destruction, when you have a gunman goes and kills a lot of people, you see the president come out and go to that area to show his support for those people, show that he's really with them, and that he will do all they can to find the person that caused the injury to them, the criminals or the terrorists. So this our struggle, our quest for independence has been going on for 7 years now, counting. And if Biya claims that he is the president of all of us, then we've never seen him go to the areas that have been affected so much as a leader, because you already talked about the qualities of a good leader or good president. Go to those areas and say that, okay, what is happening here with all this killing, in these 12 people that have been killed or these 30 people have been killed, I stand with you. He has not done that because he is part of the team that is encouraging all this killing. I just want you to just talk some more about this, because this terrorism goes back from the even day that we gained our independence. The same that eve of September 30th, they already sent their military to occupy Ireland, and that's where terrorism began. We already started feeling terrorized by the intruder.
Mhm.
So talk a little bit more about this, Doc, in terms of what Bia is doing, what he has not done, and why those who support him, knowing that he's not the leader he thinks he is, knowing that we Southern Cameroonians are really in a bad position, why are they not taking the necessary measures to stop all this and support their people?
Yes, so you can see from all the things that we've read that Biya is not a good leader. He feels extremely very important. He never mingles with his people. He never even dresses like his people. He dresses him like a Frenchman. He pretends to act almost like a Frenchman. He never goes anywhere in the country. He always sends what he calls a representative in all events. You remember when we read, it says that the leader should never feel that he's more important than his subjects.
Mhm.
And a humble and meek leader does well. When Omar Bongo, when Ben Ali Ben Bongo was put down, they gave him the option to either go abroad and get treated from his stroke, or to stay in his country. And they showed some pictures where he went and started eating on the streets with those mothers who are frying plantain and corn and selling on the street corners. And it looked very nice. Bia can never do that. He doesn't have the moral uh, intelligence to do a thing of that nature. He never mingles with people. So he's not a good leader. Plus, he has accumulated a lot of wealth. I don't want to go and keep describing, but basically, The man is non-existent since. Always felt very important, always sent different people who think it was an honor to send them to represent the head of state. He's never come to our areas. Even Ahijo went right to Bansa and met the founder of Bansa and sat in his palace and spoke with him. You never see Bia visiting our local leaders. So Bia is not our leader. He's just imposed on us and basically to exploit the land and get resources. If you want to talk more about this, I want to show the true reason why Bia is acting that way. He's acting that way because the foreigners, as we in this case put the French, they are using him to exploit our resources. What happened is that when the Europeans came to Africa in the early, say about 200 years ago, what they found as they traveled across the land, they found that the people, you never see beggars among them. In fact, they have a lot of wealth. They all work very hard and they're very respectful. Their culture is superior. That's what these Europeans said. And they said the only way they can conquer them is to make them believe that their culture is inferior and for them to abandon their culture and look up to the culture of the Western empires, which is what they have finally succeeded to do. Now, so you read the imperialists, when they came to take control of our continent, it says, I'll read here for a while, but please just be patient with me. It says the present charter was drawn up in Washington. I'm speaking from the United States of America. During the slave trade, then discreetly negotiated at the Berlin Conference in 1885. Remember, that's when the Germans took control of Cameroon, where we belong. While the Western powers shared Africa, secretly renegotiated in Yalta, when the world was divided into two blocks. We knew that the world was divided into the East and the West. We didn't know that this was something that was planned after the Second World War and during the creation of the League of Nations and the forerunner of the so-called United Nations. And this is the agreement that they had. When I read this, you realize that Biya is playing by their books. Like he said, he's Mitterrand's best pupil. He says that they were to govern the world and control all the wealth, the resources, the material things of the whole world. No third world country like Cameroon and any other is considered sovereign. So we think we are sovereign, but they don't consider us sovereign or an independent state. All power in third world countries emanates from us, and we exercise it by putting pressure on the leaders who are merely puppets. So Biya is only a puppet. Ahijo was only a puppet. That's why the French suppressed the nationalist leaders of Umnyobe and the others, imposed Ahijo on them, and later on imposed Biya on us. No organ of the third world can lay claim to exercise any power. All third world countries are divisible. So when Biya claims that Cameroon is one and indivisible, he has already lied. His controllers say all third world countries are divisible. If they want, they can separate Ambazonia just like they did Southern Sudan from Sudan, and Ambazonia will be a separate nation. So they are divisible and their borders can be moved according to their will anytime. Respect for territorial integrity does not exist in third world countries. All dictators like Biya must put their fortunes in our banks. That's why they go to Switzerland and put the money there. They must put their money into their banks for security of their interests. So they are the ones who promote money laundering. They help these dictators to launder money and hide in foreign accounts. These fortunes will be used and occasionally given as donations and assistance to third world countries with a purpose. And he says, all power and government will be established by them. And any authority that is put by them, these Western powers, is considered and is called democratic. But any other power that they do not approve of is called illegal and dictatorial and has no legitimacy. Any power which opposes to the slightest resistance their control is regarded must disappear. That's what they say. They do not negotiate agreements or contracts with third world countries. They only impose and tell them what they must do. Any agreement with another country or a negotiation without their approval is null and void. That's why when the French signed an agreement with their colonies in 1959, all the resources of those francophone countries belong to the French, and they could only use the share or negotiate with other countries if the French had no interest. And these are them saying in here that any agreement or negotiation with any other country is null and void. Where our interests are at stake, third world countries have no rights. In the countries of the South, our interests come before the law or international law. That means the interest is more important than what is called international law. That's why the Western leaders cannot be prosecuted in the so-called International Court of Justice. The people of third world countries have no opinion or right. They are subject to our will and our law. He says that the countries of the third world countries have neither culture or civilization, without referring to Western civilization. Remember, when they came, they saw our people were behaving so well. There were no beggars, all were hardworking, everybody was wealthy. They said the only way to destroy and conquer them is to make them look down on their culture and up to the Europeans. And that's what they have accomplished. It says, one does not speak of genocide or massacre or war crimes or crimes against humanity in countries where their interests are guaranteed. That is why over 60,000 Ambazonians have been killed. You hear no cough from the so-called UN or any Western media, because as far as their interests are protected to exploit the resources of the land, they don't mention that, because those are dispensable people that are not relevant or important. It doesn't matter even if the number of the victims is very high. In third world countries, no one has the right to put in their banks an amount of money above what they have determined. When the fortune exceeds the ceiling, it is deposited in one of their banks so that the profits will be controlled by them. Only the countries whose leaders show total submission to us, our puppets, as they call them, will be entitled to the above mentioned assistance. So when you see Cameroon going down, poor road infrastructure, or just like you see the poor network of roads, that is the same thing with the education system, with the healthcare system, and all other functions that the government was supposed to do to take care of the people. When the country is going down, it means that BIA is doing a wonderful job for these guys. Our aid must be accompanied by strong recommendations of such nature as to prevent and break any action of development in third world countries. So they give aid with strong conditions to prevent any development. That's why the Babaju Bamenda Road is not constructed. That's why the Ring Road is not constructed. They do it in such a way that nothing will happen. They pretend that they went and borrowed money from the African Development Bank, which is owned by the West, that they borrowed money from the World Bank, but you don't see anything happening. Our armies must always be stronger and more powerful than the armies of third world countries. The limitation and prohibition of weapons of mass destruction does not concern them. When they talk of weapons of mass destruction, it only concerns people who are against them. That's why when Biya kill people in Bali and burn them, you don't hear anybody raising anything about it, because he was doing it in the interest of the French. Our armies must help each other and unite in the war against the army of the weak in order to show their supremacy, and they must be feared in third world countries. The object of any military intervention is to protect their interests and those of the puppets. Any operation to evacuate nationals of Western countries hides their true mission, that of protecting their interests and those of their puppets. So they will claim, oh, want to go and rescue the French in Gabon or Mali, but they're just wanting to protect their interests, the money, the resources, and also the dictators. Our objective is to destabilize and destroy the regimes that are hostile to them, and to settle the puppets under the protection of their military, under the cover of mandates of the so-called United Nations forces. It goes on and on. I don't want to go and read the whole thing because it may appear long, but basically, Biya is serving the interest of these guys that are using him to keep our people down using thoughts, terrorism, money laundering, keep our people in abject poverty and suffering, in order to stash all the money abroad, which is what he's doing. That's why he's always in Switzerland. And he's not just in the Hotel Intercontinental, he owns many properties in Switzerland which are hidden from the people. And his ministers, they own the same. So that's what I would say, that basically Biya is serving the interest of these people, and the leader you see in the front are the French, but behind them are all the so-called Western allies, including the United States, where I am right now talking.
Oh my goodness. So as you were saying all that you just said, I went and looked at that document you just reading from, and you just end where I want to pick up something quickly. But before I go there, you mentioned that when we're talking about money laundering, um, we do drafting every year. We
Mhm.
have just had the federal draft, and we had a county draft to put money into the struggle. And That's how we get money. We get these are people donating their own money. So I get money, I give it to my government, which is the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, through my draft,
Mhm.
and they use it to send it to our ARFs to defend homeland. Is that money
Mhm.
laundering? Is that money
No,
laundering?
of course. If you read the definition of money laundering, that is the way of hiding illegally obtained money. So if you work, earn your income, and self-defense is a right for everybody. You hear the Israelis claiming that they are self-defending themselves against Hamas. And we don't want to go into the details of what is happening there because Israel humiliates and terrorizes the Palestinians every day, just like the Republic military is extorting money from bike riders and motorcycles in Ambazonia or all across Cameroon every day. So those Palestinians are already humiliated enough, they're tired, and once in a while they will lash out and do what Hamas did. But I will not go into that today because I don't want to distract. But what I'm trying to say here is that La République du Cameroon, uh, when you have a job like a governor and you have a legitimate income, but they come and give you large sums of bribery, money that you extort from people on the road, and you have large sums of money and you try to hide it, that is the laundry. And it starts from the presidency, Biya himself, right down to the least. So, but if you earn an honest income from going to work, you earn it, and then our people who were being burned and roasted in Bali, being killed all over by La Republique, you want to help them to protect themselves, which is self-protection. That is not money laundering. That is basically misusing the definitions. Like I said, they are turning what is right to appear wrong and making what
Mhm.
is wrong to appear right. These are people who
Absolutely.
are already guilty by their acts and they're trying to cover it up. The people are the mirror. When you hear them backing, they are seeing how awful they are, and then they are backing like that dog that looks into a mirror and is backing. They are the people that are the terrorists. They are the people that are the money launderers. They are the people who commit all the crimes that you hear them talking about.
Thank you so much. So when you were reading all these points on the article that you just briefly talk about the charter on imperialism, there was one point that you just said that is too long. You didn't want to get into, but I want to just talk about it.
Uh-huh.
They mentioned that the United Nations is our instrument, and we must
Correct.
use it against our enemies and the third world countries to protect our interests.
Exactly.
So, and then it says, our objective is to destabilize and destroy the regimes that are hostile to us and settle our puppets under protection of our military, under the cover of the mandates of the UN forces. UN
Exactly. Let's
resolutions are tests that gives us the right and the means to strike, kill, and destroy countries whose leaders and peoples refuse to submit to the injunctions under the cover of the UN Security Council. So there's something that comes to my mind, Doc. When they came up with this United Nations Security Council, I know I'm diverging a little bit, but it all relates. When they came up with the
Mhm.
United Nations Security Council, what prevented them from putting an African country in as one of the permanent members of the United Nations Security Council? What prevented them
Okay.
from doing that? They didn't do that. I'm answering my own question because
Correct.
from what you just read, the goal was to make sure that Africa is always
Mhm.
a source where they can go and exploit, and nobody from there can have a voice to say anything. They will
Correct.
just want to keep us divided so that they can exploit us from all the natural resources that we have. That's the bottom line. I just want you to
Correct.
talk briefly about that.
It basically is correct. Basically, the United Nations is their creation for their to serve their interest, and that's why you see the hypocrisy of the so-called United Nations in spite of what you call the Charter. The so-called United Nations resolutions. Have you ever seen the United States respect any of the resolutions? If the U.S. passes a resolution and the U.S. doesn't want it, they say we will not respect it and we don't care. Okay, same thing with Israel, for example. Have you ever seen Israel respect a resolution of the United Nations? They even go and stand in front of the US and tear the paper and throw it right there. Nobody says anything. Israel has never respected any resolution imposed by the so called United Nations. Then that already gives you a glimpse of who owns the United Nations. The countries that make the loudest noise and defy the international order, especially outings of the so-called UN when other countries speak, are the people who own the United Nations. Is their thing. Is they use it the way they like. Now, if you
Right.
come to the situation of Ambazonia, when La Republique was killing our people, and
Mhm.
Antonio Guterres went to Central African Republic, and we felt that maybe he would go to Yaoundé and talk some sense into Biya so they should not be killing our people. He went to Yaoundé, chatted with Biya at night, took his golden statue, disappeared, and never heard anything. Then one time in France, he was with Macron inside the French presidency when Biya visited, and I saw the video. Macron went down to receive Biya, and as he was struggling to climb up the stairs, they were making sure he doesn't fall because he's an old guy.
Mhm.
Antonio Guterres put his head out from the door as Biya was coming in. So you can question what was Antonio Guterres with Macron discussing before Biya arrived in the car, and after
Mhm.
they took Biya in, what did they talk about? Because after that, they continue doing what they are doing. So the UN is, as far as Ambazonia is concerned, a worthless organization. And when you come down to the issue with Israel and Gaza, you don't see the whatever the UN says they reject it. Even the Israelis have said that Antonio Guterres must resign because he said something bad about Israel. And all you hear is that the United Nations is trying to give some water to some Palestinians that are suffering in Gaza. You don't see them doing anything. So the United Nations is a toothless booth dog that is worthless and is owned by these people. They use it to intimidate the poor countries to say that, oh, the UN has done this, the UN has done that. The UN has no power over the powerful countries. And the powerful countries in there are the United States, Britain, France, and then Russia and China were just put in there. So usually when they're trying to take a resolution, the US will usually go to China and tell them that they should abstain. And then the US and Britain will vote, and then the thing will pass because China and Russia abstained. Correct? So that's how they
And
usually pass their things.
absolutely.
Correct.
And France, it's very likely that this document that we just read about the committee that was
Mhm.
created to fight against money laundering, terrorism, maybe it's an instrument of France. France is the one that is really ruling Southern La République du Cameroon. They have the key people
Correct.
there that give instructions: do this, do this, do this, and we have the puppets that are there uh, in place of Paul Biya, whom we know is not doesn't have the mindset at this point or the intellect to do anything without being told what to do, if at all. As you said, he's there. We don't know if he's alive, but maybe he should prove that by going around and telling his people that he's alive. We don't know that. Though we're going to
Correct.
be going to the next topic soon because this topic is really long. But we're going to be going to the
Mhm.
next topic soon. But we just want to inform our people that Southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians, we are not terrorists. We are not taking part in money laundering. We're doing two main things. We are putting our money that we've earned by hard work, not by stealing. We are putting that money to defend our territory. Because mind you that if on that October 1st, 1961, if Ahijo had respected us enough to come and sign a treaty of union, which doesn't exist, if he had respected us enough to sign a treaty of union and we all follow the rules, where for some years the president will come from La République du Cameroon. After so many years, the president will come from the former Southern British Cameroons, and we govern our section and they govern their section and uh, have only sections where they can combine the governing in terms of military activities and all the like. That was supposed to be the way the federation was supposed to work. But if they didn't do that and started terrorizing us from the beginning, and today, 62 years afterwards, they're telling us that they want to come up with committees to fight us, it's a losing battle. So, Doc, I just want you to conclude on this topic as we move to the next topic, please.
Correct. So basically, we have already described who La Republique is. They are the terrorists, basically guided by the international masters who we described already. Um, La Republique has actually lost. They don't have any power. They just pretend to be in power. Actually, the French colonies, the ambassador of France is superior to the president, the so called president of that country. So the ambassador of France controls whatever happens in La Republique. That's why when Biya at one time was inactive, the French ambassador was the one operating as president, overseeing activities in the presidency with the military parades and people graduating from ENAM and other places. The true ruler of Cameroon is the French ambassador of La République du Cameroon and the French colonies. The puppet is just there doing what the French tell him. And if he does not do it, they'll kill him and put somebody else. And Biya, like he said, he's the best people of Mitterrand, the French president. He just does what they say. If they say jump, he is asking them, how high do you want me to
Hi,
jump, sir?
hi.
He's not asking, why do you want me to jump, sir? So anyway, I believe personally that he is practically, for all practical purposes, dead. It does not matter whether they pronounce him dead or not. He's finished.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mhm.
The next topic that we're going to talk about has to do with the so-called alliance between IGOFC and Biafra. And the best way for me to go about this is to just briefly read the position of the interim government, because we want to speak the same language. So I'll read the position of the interim government, and this was drafted on the 26th of October, just a few days ago. And this came from Secretary Martin Mungwa. It says position of the interim government on the signing of alliances by Ayabacho, Egofsi, in the name of the people of Ambazonia. Dear Ambazonians and the international community, it has come to the notice of the interim government of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, formerly British Southern Cameroons, through publications and videos trending on social media, that Ayabacho Lucas, leader of EGOFC, a proxy group of the Cameroon military B, purporting to be fighting for the freedom of the people of Ambazonia, have formally signed an alliance with the Biafran secessionist government in exile. The interim government condemns this alliance and dissociates with it. The alliance that was signed with Simon Ekpa, the self-proclaimed leader of the Biafran Republic in exile, on October 21st, 2023, in Helsinki, Finland, follows a joint press conference that the said Cho Ayaba held with Nandi Kanu, leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, on April 29th, 2021, with clear correlation between the conference and between that conference and Nandi Kanu's arrest shortly after. The interim government therefore condemns in maximum terms this blatant betrayal of the friendly relations that exist between the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. The interim government also calls on the Ambazonian people to be steadfast and have trust in their leadership, that it is consistent in this revolution with the full knowledge that we are closer to our freedom than we have ever been. Read, signed, ratified on the 29th of October, 2023. Doc, I want to start by, first of all, asking you a few questions, just to educate the people briefly. What is Biafra, first of all? Who are
Okay.
Biafrans?
So this is very interesting. You have to know when the stages by which the Europeans came across to Africa. So it started even before the founding of the United States in the 1600s, that the whites were coming across Africa to catch some blacks to do menial jobs that nobody wants to do, like walking out in snow in cold weather and all that kind of thing. They were using us as their, like you would use a donkey or a cow to dig on the ground, to do all the hard work that they wouldn't do. They came in the 1600s. So in Nigeria, they first landed in Lagos. So they had what they call the colony of Lagos. They were collecting slaves there. And later on, they also expanded to the Bight of Biafra, which is around Port Harcourt and that area there. They also had another protectorate in the north. First of all, the business people came, collected these slaves, and then later on, the missionaries came and tried to spread the gospel. And later on, the government officially owned made agreements with the local chiefs to own them, and then everything was cemented in the Conference of Berlin, where the Europeans agreed basically to stop fighting over these kingdoms by themselves and say that okay, you have Nigeria belongs to Britain, and in the case of Cameroon belongs to the German. Remember, Berlin is in Germany, and Germany owned Cameroon, where Ambazonia belonged. So the British now put their three protectorates together. They put Lagos, the Bight of Biafra under Port Harcourt as a protectorate, and the Northeast, the Muslims in the north. They put them together as one, literally forcing these different groups that were very strong individual indigenous groups to be together as one, which has persisted till today. The Nigerian problem continues till today. And anyway, so the British put that together. And while we in the former British Southern Cameroon, as you know, we were under the Germans. And then after the Germans were defeated in the Second World War, as we know the story, part of us were taken over by the British. You had Northern Cameroon, former British Southern Cameroon, and then you have the former British Southern Cameroon where we come from, and then La République du Cameroun that was controlled by the French. Eventually, as you know, after they acquired independence around 1960, the British indirectly gave a Land Rover and £100 to each Muslim leader in the north of former British Southern Cameroon to tell their citizens to vote as one man to stay with Nigeria for economic reasons, and they did, and that's why former British Southern Cameroon, Northern Cameroon is with Nigeria. But that could not happen with us because our people think independently, so they insisted they couldn't control us because it was not easy. So we voted, and our people thought they would join Cameroon. As you know, when Britain now forced a federation between those different groups around Lagos, around Bight of Biafra and Port Harcourt, and then the northern Muslims, we had a time with them when the British controlled us from after the first World War through when we had our independence, and we didn't have a positive experience. People can tell you how the Biafrans maltreated us in markets in Bamenda and other places. So that's why our people left Nigeria when Britain was controlling us, and then in 1954 we decided to go and form our own country, and started our own experimentation in democracy, where we are the first country in sub-Saharan Africa democracy where we change government. So we're truly different from the Biafrans. Now the British put that group together, and that division between those indigenous groups of Nigeria has persisted to today, even though they have broken Nigeria into different smaller federated states. And so the Biafrans feel like they belong together ethnically. If you want to go back into remote history, you learn about the Igbos, that they actually originated from a lake around Manu Division. But that's another story for a different day. So that's where they go. Just like you talk about the Widikum children and all the others of the Tikaris, they originated from around the lake in Manu Division before they went where they are. That's why you see that the Biafrans, they dress like they have cultural identities with the people of Manu. But whatever the case, the Biafrans are uniquely different, going back to the European influence and the British history. And the people of Ambazonia are uniquely different, same from that history, having been controlled originally by the Germans. And now the Biafrans feel unhappy because they have been sidelined. The Muslims are more dominant in population. The British purposefully made sure that the Muslims were trained. They have control over military resources, and military academies are in the north. And the man who has the gun kills and takes control. That's why the Muslims always took control in Nigeria, coup d'etats. And so the Northeast have control in Nigeria. The Yorubas have formed an alliance with the Northeast. That's why the Northeast can allow Yorubas to rule a little bit. But they are very afraid of the Biafrans because the Biafrans are very dynamic economically. Also, the region of Biafra has a lot of natural resources, oil. And when the French discovered that Biafra had a lot of resources, just like Ambazonia, all the Gulf of Guinea going down to Angola, the French are the ones who literally instigated the so-called Nigerian Biafran War in the late 1960s and early 1970s. And they basically had Ojukwu take refuge in Gabon, and guided him to fight so that they can cut off Biafra so that the French can take those resources. But the Nigerian government fought hard and defeated the Nigerians, and that's why the Biafra did not separate from Nigeria. And the French went back like a chameleon and made an agreement with the Muslims in the north so that the oil is being siphoned from the south and refined in the north, but the companies are controlled by French companies. That's a different story for another time. We'll not talk about that here. So the Biafrans are not happy because they are looked upon as more or less third class citizens. That means first class are the Northeast, the Muslims, second class will be the Yorubas, where Tinubu is from, and then third class will be Nigerians, the Biafrans, and they never allow them
Yes.
to take any position like president in Nigeria. And so they have always felt like they wanted to be separate. But their history is different again from ours. In the case of Ayabacho and whoever he signs an agreement, whether it's Anamdi Kanu and the others, uh, I will give my own take on what I think about them. But the situation is that, first of all, he lives in Finland. I mean, sorry, in Norway. And then this Nigerian guy also lives in Scandinavia. So it's easy to meet. Like you can meet somebody here. So when they meet and chat over a cup of coffee, they can say anything and take any pictures and pretend that they have some kind of control, but they don't. He had the same agreement with Namdi Kanu. Kanu was picked up in Kenya and sent to Nigeria to be locked up in prison. He did not intervene to save them. He cannot save them. The Biafrans are struggling and fighting a different fight from Ambazonia, and they are different from us. The outcome will be different. We don't know how that will end, but we know that Ambazonia is a totally different nation with even these incompetent UN defined borders with pillars on the ground, well known and identified. And our case is strong. And with time, Ambazonia will become a totally independent, sovereign state with boundaries that separate Biafra from Ambazonia. And we're ruled, and I pray by God-fearing people that have been chosen by the Ambazonian people and not imposters that are wanting to pretend that they're leaders of Ambazonia. The way I see those, that if you for regarding Ambazonia, those leaders that have been bought off by La Republique du Cameroon, they have gone behind the scenes, made agreements with them, give them large sums of money to basically do everything to prevent Ambazonia from being separated from La Republique, and they get money and collaborate with them, pretend to fight, but they are literally forces that are one and indivisible with La Republique military, which is basically what AGOC forces are in Ambazonia.
Mm-hmm.
So they are not different from La Republique du Cameroon. They're just being used. What I see them, if you look at the buffalo has some birds that pick ticks and things from and flies from his nose and all that kind of thing. A lion does
Mm-hmm.
not care about those birds. The lion wants to get the buffalo down and feast on it. Once you get the
Mm-hmm.
buffalo down, those birds will disappear. All these guys that are trying to pretend to work with La Republique, I don't care much about them because once we have La Republique down and Amazona is free, those guys will disappear. So I'm not really worried about that noise that they are making. It's just that they are together in the same country and make noise once in a while. That's my opinion about it.
Well, Doc, I want to just prick your mind more because I see this a little bit connected to the previous topic, in the sense of terrorism.
Hmm.
We Southern Cameroonians, we've restored our country based on our history. We had the
Hmm.
right to be a nation before. We had governments in the past, and we've restored Joa's government. So when you compare us to Biafra, they are considered secessionists. We are not
Hmm.
secessionists. We were never part of
Exactly.
La République du Cameroon. So
Correct.
in that sense, it's easy to call them a terrorist group. And that we are placed in the position where if we have an alliance with them, then the international community that is one ruling all of Africa can easily say that Southern Cameroons or Ambazonia is a terrorist group because of their association with another terrorist group. And La Republique can use that to hammer down on us more than they have done with the help of the international community, because now the international community will say, yes, you have the grounds to do what you're doing. Um, so there are certain things that are in 2021, when the first alliance was made between Nandi, Kanu, and Cho Ayaba, it was really
Mhm.
upsetting. And our president has talked about this on numerous occasions, that you are there trying to help yourself. How do you go and associate with somebody who is still in the middle of the ocean trying to save themselves? What is that person going to do for you? So let's even assume that uh, the Biafrans can help us with weapons of mass destruction. I'll use that word, that phrase, that they can give us some sugar canes and groundnuts. What are we giving them? What is it that Southern Cameroons will give? Uh, what is it that Cho Ayaba, if he really is the leader of Ambazonia, can give Kanu and this Simon Ekpa, whatever his name is, uh, to have a union, a benefit? So these are all ploys of La République. La République is in all of this. These are things that La République is doing to make sure that we are terrorists, considered terrorists. You know, what do you think about that
Correct.
in
So
terms
you
of
know
this
that
Anglo? Yeah.
birds of the same feather flock together. Or the
Mm-hmm.
Bible says, "Can two work together except they agree?" If you know who Ayaba is, I don't think we need to go and study a lot about this other individual who is friends with him. How do you know whether, just like La Republic is using Ayaba to discredit our movement, is how Nigeria is using that guy to discredit the movement of Biafra?
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, I think that the uh, international Freemasonry, which controls all these governments on behalf of these people that we just read about, these so-called international guys who control all the people and they want to siphon all the resources, they use international Freemasonry to put the politicians together and control them. I believe that they too are doing everything possible to compromise the quest of the Biafrans for genuine, authentic respect and freedom within Nigeria. Now, Biafra wants to secede while we are a different nation. And I think they have legitimate reasons because they're being trampled upon, looked down as third class citizens. They're never around any positions of authority, and the Nigerian military is doing bad things to them. I don't have the details, but I don't even need to go and find out. So they want to
Mm-hmm.
have some level of freedom, and they can do so and fight until one day they have that freedom. But I'm sure the Nigerian government is doing everything to also compromise their effort to secede from
Mm-hmm.
Nigeria because that part of Nigeria has a lot of oil resources. That bite of Biafra, they have so much oil, and they have put tunnels on the ground to let the oil go and be refined in the north. And they don't want them to secede because if they secede, they'll carry all of that oil away. So I see the union or the agreement, the collaboration between Ayaba and that guy as birds of the same feather flocking together and
Mm-hmm.
basically being used by those people to do just like the Republic is using Ayaba to do the mischief that we see happening on the ground in Ambazonia. I don't think that they will succeed at the end of the day. They can do all what they are doing, but it's not going to end up anywhere. Again, the freedom of Ambazonia is not in question, is guaranteed. I'm convinced about it 100% in my spirit. Uh, and it's going to be actualized, and people will see it with their own very eyes. And we are totally separate from Biafra. So I think that the fact that the guy is one with Ayaba tells me who he is. If you know one of Bia's ministers very well, you don't like. If you know Atanganji, you don't need to find out about Chiropa. You don't need to
Mm-hmm.
find out about the one who calls himself infamous Ndongo, who is in charge of education. Because birds of the same feather flock together. They all do the same thing. They steal, embezzle, launder, practice terrorism, all those things. If you've known one, you've known the others. So I think that they're just collaborators of trying to sabotage the genuine, legitimate aspirations of the people.
Absolutely. So basically, you will see that these Biafran leaders, I've been informed that there's division in their camp. That's why you'll see somebody like Kanu probably not in good terms with Ekpa, and
Mhm.
Choayaba is trying to stay relevant. You know, Choayaba has nothing to give Ambazonians. He's trying to stay relevant, and so he plays all these publicity stunts to um, get himself popular by being in coke with other people that really have nothing to benefit Southern Cameroon's quest. So we've
Mhm.
heard in the past people like Capo Daniel come and talk about things that they are doing. He's been very quiet right now. I think their relationship has gone down the drain, and we now begin to realize that those who are supporting Cho Ayaba, are they really Ambazonians? The answer is no. You've really already explained that this is La Republique tactic because he's getting his support from La Republique government. It is clear that he's getting his support from La Republique government because he wants the international community to say that these Ambazonia people, they are so divided. You know that the very first statement that came up in 2021 when Joe Ayaba did this signed this alliance with Nandi Kanu at that time. The newspaper that reported it in Cameroon did say that there are two leadership in this our quest. They said AGOFC, one of the leaders, has done XYZ. And then they mentioned that the other leadership doesn't support. So at that time, they acknowledged that there's another leadership in the quest for our struggle that did not support what Cho Ayaba is doing. This just to show you that there's a way of manipulating what is going on so that the international community will always come with that excuse that who do we talk to? When they know that President Sako has been steadfast, has been focused from the get-go, from since he took over office in 2018 after Sisoko was abducted, he has been steadfast. He has put the people at ease that he knows what he's doing, that he will not speak with those who cannot deliver. Cho Ayaba and all the leaders that have come after that have been speaking with the enemy. They've been bought by the enemy. President Sako is the only one that has not taken any money from the enemy. And once you get leaders that have been compromised, they lost focus. They don't put the people first anymore. And that creates the problem where you cannot proceed. You cannot think about what needs to be done best to advance our cause. Some of these leaders, I hate to call them leaders, all these groups that had people that at one time claimed that they were fighting for us, where are they now? I put this now to bring to the fact that when we are talking about Cho Ayaba and bringing this relationship with Biafra, we are not saying that people like that are finding other means to discourage the international community from looking into our cause are funded by La République du Cameroon. So those of you Southern Cameroonians and Ambazonians that are supporting people like this, it's time for you to come out and decry against them. Make them understand that they are not your leaders. Make people understand that there's only one interim government. Because our goal really is to get to Buea sooner than later. We know we'll get there. We've heard from Dr. Lubade. It's down in his bones, it's down in my bones that we'll get to Buea. I believe that no country, no people that have ever fought for their freedom have never achieved it. It's just a matter of time. What is going on in the world, what is going on right now between Ukraine and Russia, what is going on between the Palestinians and Israel, are all people trying to fight for their sovereignty. Same thing is what is going on between Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroon. Every people that fight for their sovereignty will eventually get it. Because if they don't get it, both countries never will be at peace. If Israel and Palestine cannot live as good neighbors, neither of them will ever be at peace. If Ukraine and Russia cannot live as good neighbors, neither of them will ever be at peace. Same thing with La République du Cameroun and Ambazonia. If we cannot find a way to live as good neighbors, neither of us will be at peace, and neither of us will progress to the best possibility that any nation can progress to. So it becomes relevant for us to talk about all these people that are in the way of blocking what should be something that should move a little bit smoother. So people, Southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians, those of you who have any alliances, any respect that you have shown that Choyaba is your leader, it is time to dissociate from this man. He is a terrorist. If La Republic is talking about terrorism and fighting terrorism, that is the one person they should start with. Choyaba is a terrorist. When we see La Republique catch Choyaba or put him in prison or do something to stop what he's doing, terrorizing our people through ADF, then we know that La Republique means business. Until then, my people, let our eyes be open. Let us be focused. And Doc, we are going to come to the end of the show soon because I know you want to leave. I would like you to give your concluding statement before we end the show for today.
To the US during the 90s, there was a case of O.J. Simpson and his wife, where in court the lawyer said, if the glove does not stick, thou must acquit. So La Republique has tried its best to declare to let Ambazonia be recognized as a terrorist organization, the children of Ambazonia that are defending themselves and protecting themselves against the wickedness and cruelty of La République du Cameroun. But it's never worked. The US has not bought it, and it will never stick. They're wasting their time. It will never be accepted. Even if it is accepted, it's still not true for those whose brains work and they read the definition of terrorism, money laundering, and all those things, and to understand truly what the truth is. They know that it's La République that is a terrorist entity here, and their collaborators, whoever their collaborators are, even those that they have bought off and are working with them. The conclusion of the matter is that our future is very bright. And I'll read here what God Himself, who created each one of us, said. In the last book of the Old Testament called Malachi, chapter 4, it says, for behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, those very proud people here, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble. It will be like you put dry grass in an oven, it will be burned as stubble. And the day that cometh shall burn them up, said the Lord of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch, nothing will be left of them. But you rather, who fear the name of the Lord, the Son, S-U-N, of righteousness will arise with healing in his wings, and you shall go forth and grow up as calves and a star, and you shall tread down the wicked. You will tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under your soles, the soles of your feet, in the day that I shall do this, said the Lord of hosts. That is the future. All these wicked, proud individuals that go around thumping their chest, their future is that they will be crushed and put under our feet, and we have the victory. That's how I will conclude everything. So let us not be worried about them.
Thank you so much, Doc. That is a fantastic conclusion. We put everything in the hands of the Lord. We have always said this is a God ordained liberation fight. I don't want to use the word struggle anymore. I think we've passed struggle. We are focused. We know what we want. So this is really a liberation journey. And I am looking forward to your next visit on the horizon because you come with such a wealth of information. I hope our guests have learned something today. I really appreciate you for being on the horizon. Thank you so much. As we conclude today's program, I just want to tell everyone that we need to stay focused. We have one leadership, President Sako. We have said on this show several times that if you believe in somebody, until that person really shows you indisputable proof that that person has betrayed you, you cannot listen to false information from others. In 2021, 2022, we got a lot of fake news. false information that really set us back. We've rebounced. We are on the right track right now. But we need more people to join the wagon. Because when more people join the wagon, put in the right resources, we'll go faster. It doesn't mean that those of us who are still here cannot do it. But we need to do it faster because we make this statement all the time. Our people are dying. Our people are suffering. Yes, they are dying and they are suffering. What is it that you are doing to reduce that suffering, reduce that death? Those of us in the diaspora, there's one thing that we do continually. We raise funds. We fund the interim government. We fund our ARF. We fund our refugees. We fund those who are IDPs. We fund the war widows. We fund the wounded. Think about this. If Biya had not waged war on our people, would we have refugees in a neighboring country? Remember that our people have always been hardworking, where even if they don't have a job, they can farm the land and get food to eat. Because that's what most human beings need. The basic necessity is food and water that everybody in Southern Cameroonians had access to. But because of what happened, they left their land, went to foreign countries, and are barely surviving. So we need to do all that is possible to bring them back home. And the only way they can come back home to the land that they owned is to make sure that La Republique leaves our territory. And how does La Republique leave our territory? We continue pressuring them, doing all that we can do until this so-called international community that exists realize that we mean business. It's unfortunate that it's in their hands. I think there are times that I wonder, why do we need the United Nations? I ask those questions, and you've probably seen a lot of videos now coming up telling us how we've been manipulated by the United Nations. But if there's a few good people in the United Nations, because every organization has a few good people, if there are a few good people in the United Nations that really believe in what the United Nations stands for, then those few good people will help Ambazonia be recognized as a nation in its own right. Until then, please, let's stay focused. Let's put this in God's mighty hand, because one day we will be free. Thank you for being on the horizon today. Until next week, long live the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, and short live this liberation journey. Thank you so much.
Alert, alert, alert. This is Dr. Martin Mongwa, Secretary of State for Communication and IT for the interim government. Today is Wednesday, the 1st of November, 2023. Dear Ambazonians, dear ARF, I come to you today as a follow-up for the message we have sent last week regarding the series of security meetings where they take place for Boya and Yaoundé. This meeting will be planned by La République du Cameroon. It will be attended by the governor of the northern and southern zones, Prime Minister Diongute, Paul Atanganji, Bella Moki, Moja Moja, and a lot of other people. Central for the meeting, it been a highway they fit turn Ambazonians against Ambazonians. And the idea be say, when they be able for succeed, they'll go around the world for talk say, na Amba the worker kill Ambazonians. Dear ARF, dear Ambazonians, we be learned last week, say this criminal enterprise for La République du Cameroon, they try for use innocent Bakre people so that they will give them machetes and other materials them for kill Graffiti people or people when they not come out from the southern zone. Now, this one is the second part of the plan. And this one a plan where don't go on for more than 2 months. And when did they do? They say they take unsuspecting picking them, poor picking them when they need to go for school. They take them, for example, for Bamenda, they take them up station for train them for come back, harass and kill the local population. In fact, what it happens say on ghost town days, they actually put masks over their faces, go around harass people, and for night they go kill people, them cut people, they will machetes, and they come out like ordinary picking them for their house. Go for up station, get this training. Whether they give them the money or they give them materials for key people. I want for come out very clear. Say this one a crime against humanity and a crime against international law. We want to let them understand. Say the interim government, if they record and they take note of this picking when they do all these things, and they will come to book either during this revolution or when the revolution be over. And for the parents, I strongly advise now for discouragement picking them for enter this criminal enterprise, because when this picking will be picked up, now when our families there, now when I will regret for what will happen for this picking them, because they'll get for explain what they do against their own people when they go for night into bars, killing and harming people there from communities. And La Republic will come out tomorrow say now Amber boys that go around for kill innocent people. We want to make them very clear. Say we be aware. Say this one are picking the way that they come off for house for morning time, go for obsession for Bamenda, go take this training and then come back, commit all these crimes. The same thing that happened for Boya, Moliko, Kumba, and so on. This one are the new tactic where La Republic feels say if you win this war, where they know very well that they don't lose them. So I want to make people understand. Say the interim government be aware of it and they track and they document all these things where they happen. And when the time for book will reach, these people that will be called upon for answer for the crimes the way they commit them against their own people. Thank you and have a blessed day.
Fellow Ambazonians, when the terrorist La Republic du Cameroon, they declare war on us, they remove their war equipment, send them over to Ambazonia. Little did they expect that 7 years down the road, they go still lose their terrorism for inside with territory. They be underestimate with resilience and with determination for achieve with total freedom from the slavery where they be take we put them for inside. All of this now thanks to the civilian population and ARF for home front. With that the ANC they give una 21 gun salute to ARF. The ANC want to make una understand. See the concept of LGA by LGA where una interim government be put them in place. Now for make una know una commanders. Some of them una know them personally, while the others una don't deal with them for a while. So una no supposed to allow make any person, especially person who una don't know, make it come out there, make it come directly to una. Wait, no pass through una commanders for una LGAs. Or una county commander. They go always vet any information or anybody where they want send them for una and then react to una best interest. Make I repeat here again. Say anybody where una no recognize them, where it come to una directly, una send the person back to una LGA or county commander. The information when the NSC won't pass them out right now, they come now from ARF for home front. Say a certain Amber news line where they always tell them, say make they take care of their phones, say they track them, and say he go tell them how to stop and make the Republic not be able to track their phones. Of course, all this one will be a false narrative because all the serial numbers them for the phones where they be taken from where to a year for the fighters for ARF. It will take all of them, give them for La Republic du Cameroon, make them be able to track the phones instead. If you listen to this and you be an ARF where you don't go through this process, would it tell you destroy the equipment immediately, destroy that phone immediately? We didn't talk you remove the SIM, discard the phone, and we not immediately cut any communications we will get with the Amber Newsline fellow. We don't hear on several occasions where they come for Kanto say attack will take place for you, or we talk say this one will happen for you and it happened. Now, make una be very aware. Say sometimes the people that they throw con for get foul. You say if they take all that intel from it be questionable. But the terrorist La Republic states they use all sorts of proxies to get to ARF. To a civilian population for home front. We want for remind una again. Una interim government will be headed by His Excellency Dr. Samuel Ekome Sako and His Excellency Mr. Eric Ate. It remind una said there is nothing like liberation tax. That one that the proxies of La Republic du Cameroon, Ayabacho and Igang, now them they try for implement that one on with people. And the sole reason for that, now for frustrate with people, make they turn their back to the struggle. Interim government, they draft people them abroad for help prosecute this war. And any other thing where they happen for home front, it be out of free will. Because we understand, say each and every civilian for home front, now a soldier in his or her own light. So when an interim government, they appreciate all the sacrifices that they make them. Ayabacho Lucas don't take money, he don't take a check from La Republique du Cameroon. And the plan where they get, now for use their bees, where they don't mix up with a few innocent boys, them where they don't know where it happen, for frustrate and terrorize the public with civilians them, so that make them turn their back to the struggle, so that they go in turn, the call that the bees, maybe they can save them from the terrorists them where Ayabacho and La Republique du Cameroon, they don't implant them. Ambazonians, as all don't acknowledge them, the ADF, they need to fight anywhere. All way they do, now for lure innocent and unsuspecting Ambazonian boys into their ranks so that they go kill them. Like what will happen yesterday for Bechati. They don't fool these boys themselves, they go around the collect liberation tax. So that as the boys they go for front, they're very busy what they do within their ranks. They call their friends and they lay ambush, kill them. This one would still talk for each and every Ambazonian fighter. If you be genuine, you want fight this fight, you want prosecute the fight, go under your LGA. Forget about the ADF because you go end up dead. Ayabacho Lucas know very well, say this particular war tax or whatever way they call them, it not going to be popular with people. They go fight back, and that's exactly the plan that we be planning with La Republique du Cameroon. So that the innocent one, the way they go send them for family, they go collect them, as they go shoot and kill each and every one of them. It is set up, innocent boys, they go be killed. It's just the same like the nonsense we go make out they call them Biafra connection. Ambazonians, the reason behind that move, now for make La Republique du Cameroon for create an alliance with the government where they for Nigeria, so that make they fight us. It be been a very calculative move by Ayabacho Lucas, where he want to say even with refugees them, they go suffer from that. Any of we fighters when they pass inside that territory, make Nigeria hunt them down. Insofar as they hear say you be Amba fighter. Oh, it not only get an alliance with the bees, it equally aid La Republique du Cameroon for create a very good alliance with the Federal Republic of Nigeria so that they go be able to squeeze we for middle. But Ambazonians will be up to the task. It gets many other means where we use them for source of materials, and that one not go stop we from fighting. Make the NSC reiterate here again. Say Ayaba is not a leader in this revolution. So all this running around, where they run around to do and whether the alliances where they create that is not on behalf of Ambazonia. It do all that one on behalf of La Republique. We need to see which way the ADF the fight. But it rather sacrifice innocent boys that blood with the alliance where it get them with big number and the bees them where they deal with big number, because we get reliable information both from our sources and from the big number on camp. Say they get not less than 20 bees where they go around with big number. If Ambazonians, if you recall, all the operations where they don't carry them for inside Guzang or around Mogamo area, big number don't always escape all of them. All innocent boys, they don't always be slaughtered. Operation Sunrise on the 28th of July 2022, where they be said they want to take over Bamenda. They be make it sound very appealing. They rally innocent boys them from all over, bring them for inside Guzang. They be slaughtered, more than 20 of them. One be the expect say for a force like that, we want to take over Bamenda. Therefore, we start by defending their own territory. But na lie, Ayaba be fool them. They don't kill at least not less than 4 again for Bechati yesterday. Now so they killed them 2-3 for inside Mogamo. These ones are the innocent ones. They beat them know which way they do. Now a calculated move where they don't plan them with big number and Ayaba. And if you happen for be a civilian, when you witness any of those their operation or their transactions between the terrorist bees in uniform and those ones where they hide themselves around with big number, if you happen for witness them, they eliminate you immediately. Like the case of Mami Cecilia Munji, where they be massacred on the 19th of October 2022 by the terrorists from La Republique du Cameroon. What it be Mami a crime? It only crime be na say it be there inside a garden. It see as these terrorist bees they come inside their so-called armored car, can remove a bag where be suspect and will be full of ammunition, drop them for down. A few minutes later, ADF, where they be with big number, they be use one of the jeeps and when the Republic be given for them. They be arrive the same location. They fire some gunshots into the air. They pick the back and they be take off. When Mami be go sit down for some bar, he talk about what will be happen. Little did Mami know say, for inside that very bar, the terrorists they said they listen to ye. On the 19th of October 2023, after Mami finish his shower, enter his house, they pull it out, murder ye in cold blood. The NSC want time for tell with people for home front again. This issue for liberation tax. When an interim government need to ask for any liberation tax. So make nobody no pay any liberation tax. This one that a carefully calculated plan between Ayaba and La République du Cameroon for turn all towards the military so that we go run to the military. They understand very well. Say this particular point that they send them, they can ask this liberation tax. They will can't torment una, they go terrorize una. And in so doing, make una run go meet the military. Make una be wise. Una ARF then they for protect una. Finally, the NSC want to remind with civilian population for home front say, each and every one of una na a foot soldier for this revolution. And the fight where we fight them now for kick the colonialists, La République du Cameroon out of we territory. So when the terrorists them from La République du Cameroon, they come for can't tell when I say Cameroon be one and indivisible. That one we need to dispute them. That one not true. La République du Cameroon be one and indivisible because wait will know as La République du Cameroon become into existence on the 1st of January 1960. Make I repeat. The entity wait will know like La République du Cameroon. It become into existence on the 1st of January 1960 with defined boundaries where it be recognized by the United Nations. They share those boundaries with Chad, Central African Republic, Gabon, Equatorial Guinea, Nigeria, and Ambazonia. Ambazonia be equally come into existence with their own boundaries on the 1st of October 1961. Now 2 different states made the retreat to the boundaries where they be get them during the time of independence, without which Ambazonians they go fight until we kick each and every one of them out of our territory. We not go take anything, we not go tolerate, we not go take anything less than that. Ambazonians, we are up to the task. Ambazonia be one and indivisible. Make La Republic equally understand. This one that is spokesman for the ANC signing out today, the 31st of October 2023. Short live the revolution, long live the Federal Republic of Ambazonia.